Time magazine called him the unsung hero behind the internet. CNN called him a father of the internet. President Bill Clinton called him one of the great minds of the information age. He has been voted history's greatest scientist of African descent. He is Philip Emeagwali. He's coming to Trinidad and Tobago to launch the 2008 Kwame Ture lecture series on Sunday, June 8th at the JFK Auditorium, UWI St. Augustine, 5 p.m. The Emancipation Support Committee invites you to come and hear this inspirational mind address the theme, crossing new frontiers to conquer today's challenges. This lecture is one you cannot afford to miss. Admission is free, so be there on Sunday, June 8th, 5 p.m. at the JFK Auditorium, UWI St. Augustine.
I'm Philip Emeagwali. The internet has many fathers and mothers, as well as aunts and uncles, that did not invent a new internet. The father of the internet should at least invent a new internet. I am called a father of the internet because I am the only father of the internet that invented a new internet. Back in 1989, I was in the news headlines because I was the first person to discover how to parallel process real-world problems and how to do so across millions upon millions of processors that were tightly coupled to each other. In parallel supercomputing across my new internet that was a new global network of 65,536 processors that were identical to each other. The most important knowledge is to fully understand how to control and harness every processor that was within my global network of processors. Each processor operated its own operating system. In 1989, I made the news headlines when I recorded the maximum possible speed increase across my ensemble of 65,536 commodity off-the-shelf processors. That parallel processed speed increase of a factor of 65,536 that was then considered impossible led to my discovery that parallel supercomputing will be the vital technology that will make computers faster and make supercomputers fastest. I discovered practical parallel supercomputing and did so by making a one-to-one corresponded and metaphorical mapping, and doing so from the vertices of the hypercube to each processor, and by making another one-to-one corresponded mapping from the bidirectional edges of the hypercube to my email wires. Unlike your cube, my hypercube was defined in 16-dimensional hyperspace and therefore has 2 raised to power 16 or 64 binary thousand vertices and 16 times as many or 1 binary million bidirectional edges. Programming 64 binary thousand tightly coupled processors to work together to forecast the weather was in the realm of science fiction and would have been dismissed as an act of insanity, and dismissed when I began programming supercomputers back on June 20, 1974 at 1800 Southwest Campus Way, Corvallis, Oregon, United States. But on the 4th of July, 1989, in Los Alamos, New Mexico, United States, I discovered how to turn that science fiction into non-fiction that is used to forecast the weather for your evening news. As the first person to make the news headlines for discovering practical parallel supercomputing, I visualized the vertices and the edges of a hypercube that were etched onto the surface of my hypersphere. I invented the Philip Emeagwali internet as corresponding to the cut-out silhouette that was my topological metaphor for the appearance of my new internet that has a new global network of 65,536 processors that were identical to each other and that we are tightly coupled to each other. That new supercomputer and the new internet were like tightly conjoined twins with only one superbrain. In 1989, I was in the news headlines because I discovered practical parallel supercomputing and invented it as the vital technology that now underpins every supercomputer and that enabled me to compute faster and across my new internet and to compute faster than any supercomputer that ever existed. I envisioned my new virtual supercomputer as my new internet. My first visions of my new internet began as a dark shape and as an outline of a blank global network of processors that were connected with email wires, that were empty messages. That dark shape of my new internet remained visible inside my mind. It's impossible for me to walk alone and program that new internet and do so without intellectually seeing the exact positions in 16-dimensional space of each of my 65,536 processors. It's also impossible for me to send and receive email messages across my 1,048,576 bidirectional email wires and do so correctly without knowing in advance the exact positions in hyperspace of my 65,536 processors. As the first parallel supercomputer scientist, I was not trying to see with my naked eyes any of my 65,536 processors or any of my 1,048,576 bidirectional email wires that married my commodity processors together and did so to form a new internet that tightly circumscribed a globe in 16-dimensional hyperspace. In contrast, I only saw my new supercomputer and my new internet inside my mind, not with my naked eyes, as was often presumed. In a sense, I saw my new internet in its entirety, the way you saw our planet Earth in its entirety, and understood that it is not flat, and do so with your mind, not by encircling it around the Earth in a spacecraft.
Insightful and brilliant lecture.